Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Christy Iwuchukwu's Brilliance TV show. Yes, we are back on a special day. Happy Martin Luther King's, Dr. Martin Luther King's Day. Happy, 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 everyone. It is such a great day today, and we are coming on to do Christy Iwuchukwu's Brilliance TV show. That's right. In case you haven't heard about my masterclass that is going on Thursday, January 21st, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Again, the date is January 21st, 2021. This is going to be a masterclass, a free masterclass on storytelling for speakers, how to create a story that pays and slay. And I am looking so forward for you to be there. If you know someone who has product and services that needs for that person to talk, which is almost everybody, right? Marketing. You need to be there. I would love to have you there. Invite your friends. We're going to be talking about how to create an effective storytelling that really aligns with your product and services. So, again, I'm going to put the link there for you to register. And in today's conversation, oh my goodness, in today's conversation, I am super excited to be bringing you all about copywriting. That's right. It's all about copywriting. We can't do without copywriting. So who is joining me? My special star guest today is none other than Terri K. So Terri, she's going to be telling us a lot more of what she does, but she really provides, let's see, I don't want to mess it up. I can't get the word out. She's really a strategist helping businesses and small businesses create an effective copy for their business. So help me welcome my friend, Terri Hans. Terri, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I am extremely excited to be here. I can't wait to talk to you guys.
Oh, good. I'm super excited. So tell us, for those that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are. How did you get here? We know you are rocking your brilliance out here, but how did you go? Because oftentimes we get to know you when you are rocking your brilliance, but it is always when you are in the valley during your journey that we learn the greatest lesson. So how did you get here, Terri?
Yes. So, well, first, like you said, my name is Terri King Hunt. I am the mother of 3 amazing young women. I have a 20-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and they are all geniuses and brilliant in their own right. I'm the wife of Stephen Hunt. He's a psychologist here in Georgia, and he is also a pastor of a church and a ministry here. I, by profession, am an educator. I have played in many roles. I am a content creator. I'm a curriculum writer. I worked in the elementary classroom, have taught gifted education. And, you know, I tell people that I'm a really, really great teacher. I'm a fantastic teacher. I love teaching. It's my passion. It was what I created to do. With that being said, writing is my superpower. And so I tend to focus on literacy. So literacy in adults and adult learners, training, administration, and literacy in young people. About 3 years ago, I was teaching in the classroom, and I was doing a lot of training of professional development. And I just saw a lot of disconnect with my kids. I was feeling like I was missing them. I was missing out on my time with them. And I really contemplated, going and teaching my children at home, but that financial piece was just weighing on me. And then one day, my daughter came home, and in a conversation, she told me that her teacher told her that slavery wasn't that bad. And it just took my breath away. And I said, I'm going to teach my own kids. And so I came home, which took a huge chunk out of our finances. And I just asked God, what's in my hand? And he said, you're an amazing writer. Teach people how to write. And I started to do that. And I made that into an amazing opportunity where I get to work with leaders and entrepreneurs and founders of nonprofit. And I get to help them turn their scrolling audience into paying customers just by elevating their writing and improving their skills as writers.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. You are killing two birds with one stone. You get to stay home with your kids and teach them exactly the way you want them to learn and still make an income at the same time. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was it. I had to, it was like, we have to eat, but awesome. I also need to be in control of what they're being taught.
Or what they're being taught, which a lot of parents would love to. Unfortunately, they don't always have that choice. And it's great that you have that choice. So welcome to the show. So today but first of all, before we begin, I want to welcome all our guests, our listeners, our viewers, and thank you all for watching. Please be sure to put your comments, your questions in the comment section, and I'll be coming back and talking to you and have our guests talk to you, answer all your questions on your comments and questions. So thanks for joining us. So let's get right into it.
Yeah,
copywriting is a big thing, and as well put, that copywriting is to a business what effective communication is a strong relationship, and I couldn't agree more. And when it comes to copywriting, let me tell you, I suck at it. Can I just be transparent? When it comes to copywriting, I suck at it. I remember there's this rave about copywriting. Didn't know much about copywriting. Now I do. But I remember going to Fiverr and asking somebody to do a copyright for me. What came at the end of it, well, first of all, if you've done any work in Fiverr, you know that beware of what you get, because there's a language barrier and you don't know who you're talking to. And even when you know who you're talking to, sometimes it can take all the way to 2 weeks, 3 weeks before you get your product done. But nevertheless, it's still a good source if you get somebody good. But anyway, so I got my copy back after a week or two, and I had no idea whose copy that was, because it's not something I would normally write. If I had used that copy, people wouldn't understand who was writing or who I was. It just didn't sound like me at all. So what did I do? I trashed that copy and decided to write my own copy, right? And I think the more you do it, the more you learn. So little did I know that I'm going to have an expert today that is going to help us with copywriting. So for those of us that don't know, for those people that may be watching right now or maybe watching later on that don't know what's copywriting, tell us a little bit about what copywriting is, and then we can move on from there.
That's a great question, because I get that question a lot, like, what is copy? Copy in business is the written words that compel your audience or the reader to do it, whatever it is you want them to do. So copy is the way in which we get our buyers or our audience to buy. We get our audience to fall in love with us. We motivate our audience. We inspire our audience. Whatever the objective that we want our audience to do, when we write good copy, that copy should force or convince or persuade the audience to do what we want them to do. And that is what copy is.
So in other words, copy is really you doing it by writing a copy. I'm doing it by helping individuals, speakers, business women leverage their message using storytelling the right way. Basically, that's what I
Yeah.
do. And you do that in writing as well. Because what I see is that there's disconnect. So many speakers want to tell a story. However, the story doesn't tie in with the message. And as a result, they don't get what they are looking for. And the audience is robbed of their transformational experience. So, in essence, you're doing it through writing a copy, and I'm doing it through teaching and training speakers on how to align their story with their message so that they can get the outcome they are seeking. Awesome, awesome. So, what do you see out there? Let me just begin with somebody who is new to business. And they're hearing, just like I was hearing, all the buzz about copy, all the buzz about the copy. Why should we care? Who cares? Why should we care about copy?
That is a great question. And if you get children screaming in the background, please forgive me. I have tried numerous times to ask them to be quiet, but they're 5. So
yes, we get it. We understand.
Okay. But that's a great question. Why should you care about your copy? I tell people all the time, especially when you're on a digital platform or when you're working in this online space, there is so much information being thrown at us all the time. There are so many amazing graphics being thrown at us all the time. You know, I used to tell people Twitter used to overwhelm me because it was happening and it would change like this. But what happens is if you have wonderful graphics, it will stop the scroll. Like people will stop and go, "Oh, that's a nice picture," right? But pictures don't cause your audience to buy, right? It is the written word. It is the copy that informs people of what it is you have and compels them to purchase. And so while great graphics, great images, all of that is great, if your copy isn't persuasive, isn't compelling, isn't inspiring or motivating, then you aren't going to convert those customers who stop to look at your amazing images, or you're not going to convert those audiences who go, "Oh, wow, I love her website layout." You're not going to convince them to hit the buy button unless you have effective copy.
So you know, when I'm hearing you speak, I'm thinking about tell a story and make a point. And that's what, in essence, you are talking about, a copy. Even if you have a graphic, you should be able to look at the graphic, and the graphic should say exactly what the written word did not convey. The challenge is the writing. How do we even begin to write? For somebody who's a novice, somebody who is new to business, how do we know what comes first and what's the last thing to put? It's almost like writing a speech. What is the opening? What is the body of the speech? And what is the closing? How do we approach it? What's the best way to approach it?
Well, I think that's a loaded question, and I'll tell you why that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that's a loaded question, and I'll tell you why that's a loaded question.
Okay.
Because there are different objectives in everything that we write, you know? So I can say that when I am teaching my participants, my students, well, I'm going to say one thing, and I want to make sure I put this in here. One of the biggest reasons that we struggle with writing is because for so many years, when we were in school, we were instructed to write, right? We were told, sit down and write. I want you to write a research paper. I want you to write a story. Sit down and just begin. Just write. Well, that's called writing instruction. Well, what I did early in my teaching career is I developed a writing program that teaches you how to write, not instructs you how to write, but teaches you how to write. So I have structured formulas. I teach in a very formulaic way so that you know how to start, So that is your question, right? A lot of times we're stuck. We don't know even how to start. And so one of the main things I tell my learners, be them old entrepreneurs, young children, is you have to begin with a hook. It's very much like you just said when you're talking about speaking. What is your opening? But when we start with a hook, we think about our objective. What do we want them to do in the end? Oftentimes, when I'm telling my entrepreneurs to write, I instruct them to use hooks that cause their reader to think in the way that I will want them to behave at the end, right, when I close. So if I want them to share, when I begin, I'm going to begin by saying, I read somewhere and I'm sharing this with you. You know, I want to begin with something that hooks them, but also trains them to prepare for what I'm going to ask them to do. And that's really, really powerful, because that is that is something that I don't see many instructors teaching their writers to do.
And you know, as you are talking, it reminds me, I'm going back again because it's similar to what I do, which is when I write, or when I write my speeches, I begin with the end in mind. Because when I write backwards rather than beginning, I go backwards. Because if I know exactly what I want them to do, I believe that it will help me. Knowing the objective, knowing the outcome I want at the end will help me, so that when I am opening, everything is aligned. And that's kind of what you are talking about, correct? Because as a speaker, my job is really to have the audience think, feel, and do something different at the end of my talk. And so if that is the case, then that makes sense that I begin crafting my talk from the end, knowing what I want them to do. And everybody's different, but I find that it helps me a lot. And everything in that case is aligned, making sure that everything I want is included to get that outcome. So now you talked about how you want them to begin. What do you see is the main problem in writing for somebody who is new? I still consider myself new when it comes to copywriting, because I told you I suck in copywriting, but I'm learning. So what do you think is the problem for them that they can overcome, or they need to overcome, to be able to write a copy? Maybe not perfecting it at first, but at least begin to understand how that copy will help them in what they're selling, because it's all about marketing.
Yeah. The biggest gap, or the biggest error that I see in those who come to me, or those that I work with, is they haven't studied their audience. They don't know who they're talking to. They don't know who they talk to. They know who they want to be talking to. They know that they want people to purchase their books, but they haven't defined who they're talking to. I give this example all the time. When I talk to my children, I talk a lot different than I do when I'm talking to my girlfriends. When I talk to my husband, I talk a lot different than I talk to my girlfriends, right? And if I want my husband to do something very nice for me, I am going to talk to him differently. I'm going to use different words, different emotions, and I'm going to use a different tone than I will if I want to get you or someone in business or my best friends to do something. And once we know who we're talking to them becomes quite easy. So a lot of times the biggest issue that I have to remedy is saying, who do you want to talk to? Yes, we know we want all of the world to buy our stuff. We want to be rich. Yes. But who is your ideal person? And what do they say? Do they say things like, hey, sis, I'll tell you right now, I don't like it when people say, hey, sis, to me. So when I see a copy that says that, I kind of scroll past it because I don't feel like they're not talking to me, right? And so once you understand who I am as the buyer, then you'll know, I probably won't use hey sis because I'm talking to that audience. But there is some audience who I may be trying to sell to, or I want them to be my audience, and I might just very well say, hey sis. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, you are absolutely right. And I'm going to piggyback on that because, say, for example, and I don't mean it in any bad way, but say, for example, you're talking to a Black woman, right? And you say, hey, sis, it's understandable. But if you're talking to another group of people and you're using that word and you say, hey, sis, it may not be taken well, the same thing. But again, here you are a Black woman, but I'm writing to you and saying, hey, sis, right? As if you are going to understand me because, hey, we understand it, right? But then you said, that's not my language. I don't speak that language. So then what would be the safest way to communicate?
Well, like I said, so for instance, I work with entrepreneurs and founders of nonprofit, right? Adult learners who are already running amazing companies, running strong businesses. They just want to elevate their writing. So I don't use things, I don't say words like your writing is failing, because they are successful in their business. So it's not failing. I'll use words like, let's level up. You've been here, you've been successful. Now let's take it to the next level in 2021. That's going to resonate with my audience. So there is no one surface way, but when you find out who your audience is and who you're speaking to, you speak their language and you speak directly to them, and they will hear you.
I get you. I get you. Thanks again for watching us, all our viewers. Appreciate you. Please be sure to put your comment and we'll get to your comment as soon as possible. Bring your questions. If you know someone who needs this information, please go ahead and tag that person. Bring that person on board because this is a really nice information that Terri is educating us on about copywriting, effective copywriting that get results, hooking your audience. But whether you're speaking to them or you're writing to them, hooking your audience. That's what we're talking about today. Copywriting, having an effective copywriting that sells, copywriting that brings your customer into you. So let me go back and talk about this. Copywriting is really, I think, in business, it's almost, you can't do without it because I don't care how we define it. It is what it is. If you want someone to buy what you are selling, you have to, not even you convincing that person has to be convinced on his or her own that what you are selling has value, that will add value to them. The challenge is in how you message them, how you write your messaging, because see, it's not about storytelling, it's the words behind the storytelling that makes a difference. And the same thing goes with copy. It's not the writing, it's the messaging. So how do we even begin when it comes to messaging? And you talked a lot about hooking, and we know what, for the most part, we know what hooking is. Hooking your audience is getting them to buy into what you have, a buy into what you're selling. For somebody who doesn't know anything, I go back to, because that was my struggle, doesn't know anything about copy. And even when you see an example of what a copy looks like, I didn't have any idea what goes into writing it. How do you begin to explain that to somebody?
So I have a lot of templates, right? I use a lot of templates. I use a lot of formulas. And when people purchase my formulas, I tell them all the time, understand the buying journey, right? When you're getting ready to email or send an email, who are you trying to get? Are you trying to get your raving fans to purchase something new that you have? Or are you trying to earn the trust of a new customer that just joined your email list, right? When they get my formulas, I tell them, speak to them from the position of knowing where they are in the buying journey. So once you couple knowing who your audience is and then knowing where they are in your buying journey, it gets easier to talk to them, right? Yesterday, you and I initiated a preview conversation, right? And at first, we didn't know each other. We just started talking and we were quite professional, right? We were quite,
Yes.
hello, how are you? Everything's good. Yes, yes, okay. Because we didn't know each other.
Correct.
Through the conversation, we became more attuned to each other. You realize that you and I have a lot of things in common. I realize that we have things that we both agree with. And that level of familiarity kind of, we allowed ourselves to talk a little bit more freely. We laughed, we made jokes. These children, oh, these men, right? I want you to think about your email sequence, your progress as like a conversation. When you first meet them, you probably will start out a little bit more formal. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful that you joined my email list. I'm really happy that you're here. I am passionate about. Then once you realize that you have a relationship with them, I know, I understand you're tired. I get it. Or when they're your raving fans, girl, you know I always show up well. Hit the buy button, right? There's these steps that if we know who we're talking to and where they are on that buying journey, again, the conversation just flows easily. And one of the things that I have found the most success with in training my students and my writers is for them to seriously understand that writing is not hard. Why is it not hard? It's not hard because we all know how to talk. And if we're successful in business, we've mastered our conversation, right? So now we just have to take off that veil of anxiety and think of our writing as a conversation and figure out who we're talking to and what process or what steps or what part of the conversation we're in, and then just talk to them that way.
And I think you brought up a good point. You brought up a good point because when you were talking about you and I yesterday, that was exactly what happened. At first, we were just so formal. Hi, how are you? What do you do? My name is this. But then throughout I think halfway through the conversation, everything changed. We were just talking like we already knew each other. And you are absolutely right, because when I think about having a lead that, that person is not a warm audience, it's not a warm client, you don't know that person. The way you speak to that person is totally different than the way you speak to someone that you already know, that maybe they've purchased from you before and they are continuing to purchase. But then here's what I see. Sometimes you explained it so well, there has to be a journey, right? And I think that's one of the problems that people face, especially if you're new to copy, writing a copy. If you're new to it, not understanding that just as it is when you are speaking to an audience that you don't know anything about. The same thing goes with writing a copy. So what I see, and I'm going to ask you this question, tell me how that can be different for them. What I see is when you don't know the audience, for example, when you don't know the audience, but you know the ethnicity of the audience, my question is, will that make a difference? Because when depending on the ethnicity, there's a way you talk to them. And I know that sometimes you try to generalize, but my question to you is, what will be the appropriate thing to do in that regard?
That's a really good question. I'm going to tell you why I paused on that question.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Ogden, Utah, right? Utah, the state of Utah.
Okay.
Growing up, I was always the only person of color in almost every situation. Okay. And so I quickly had to learn how to understand the room that I was in, right? My mom was very adamant that I would attend an HBCU. And so when I left and went to college, it was shocking in the difference in cultural experience, in atmosphere, things like that. And so again, quickly, I had to learn how to adjust to the environment and the culture that I was in. The one thing that never changed, however, was the way in which I engaged with people, because my personality was my personality. And so I don't know if in business, in copy, the way that the way that I understand and the way I teach, I don't know that ethnicity plays as big of a role as understanding your customer, understanding your audience, right? Because I would tend to tell people all the time that my very best friends were not Black, right? My very, very, very best friends, because I grew up in a different culture. But my personality has been the same. So my engagement with them might have been different because I understood their likes and their dislikes better. But I don't know that ethnicity plays as big of a role. And I'm sure it does. I've never considered it. That's what I'm saying. I've never thought of it in that way. But I will say that knowing what they like, knowing how they talk, knowing what they believe in, that matters.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to get this thing from not. Excuse me. But anyway, thank you for that. So I think I hear what you're saying. And for me, I tend to be on the safe side. We're talking about sister, hey sis, and you say if somebody's writing to you and using hey sis, that's not for you, right? Here somebody will be thinking, oh, you are a Black person. Well, so if I say hey sis, people will, you would understand and go, no. For me, I tend to stay on a safer side personally, and I hear what you're saying. And what are your thoughts? I told you I had a copy written. I had a copy written, and the copy came back. Of course, like I said, it was from Fiverr. The copy came back, and all I could say, oh my goodness, the English that the person was using, it's not in my voice. You will not hear me talking in that tone. You will not hear me talking in that voice. Not only was it big English, it was just different. I had to trash it and then write in my own voice. What do you think about, sometimes you can source copy out. How do you make sure that what you get back is in your own voice?
I love
and
that.
What do you think about people using, I learned to write we're told to write in 8th grade level, right? But then you still see some copies like, it's almost like you're in law school all over again. So what can you say about that?
Well, first of all, I love that question. And I'll tell you why I love that question. The reason that I love that question is because it highlights the difference between what I do as a copywriter who is versed in the journey and the process and the education and the teaching part of it, versus other copywriters, right? Because other copywriters tend to use templates, or they use the same copy. They just insert your words and just change a couple of things. Yes. But because my expertise is in education, right? In teaching, I understand the process of learning and obtaining information. I understand the process of scaffolding and building. So when I'm going to answer it in two ways. When I teach, I always start here and build and build and build so that it becomes your knowledge, right? I don't just give you PowerPoints and templates and say, take it and go do what you do. I am a builder of information. When I write copy for people, one of the things that sets me apart is the fact that I don't take on 50 clients in a week. I don't take on 100 clients in a week because I churn them out so fast. I take on 2 or 3 a week, and we have connection calls. I visit your social media. I look at your analytics. I look at your website. I understand what you talk about. We have a conversation, right? I have a conversation with you, and I find out how your sense of humor is. I find out what things you find are funny. I listen to you on that connection call while you tell me your vision, while you tell me your mission, your passions, and then I write in your voice. And that makes all the difference in the world.
I couldn't agree more. It makes a big difference. I can't even tell you. When I received that copy back, I think you turned your mic off.
I did, because I just want to make sure y'all don't hear all of that.
When I received that copy, oh my word. Oh my God. Let me go back to our audience, our viewers, our listeners. Hello. Thanks for joining us, Loana. She said, hello, Terry. Thanks for joining us. Oh, that's your coach, Tamra. Thanks for joining us. And Miss Hogan, I think. Thanks for joining us. Anana. Oh, hi, Anana. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much for joining us. Please be sure to leave your comments in the comment section. And if you have any question or know someone who needs this information, please be sure to send the link to that person to come and stay till the end, because she has an amazing information that she wants to share with you. And you can already tell that the girl, she knows what she's talking about, and she is good at what she does. So let's continue our conversation. So now we talked about what you've seen being in the industry. How can we begin to even remedy this thing? How can we begin? And I think I'll tell you one of the things. It's almost like speaking. When you're speaking, you've given 1 month to speak, but you wait till a day before and you start speaking, and we know how that goes. So tell us a little bit about copywriting, and how can we even begin to write?
Yeah.
What would be the best way for a novice like me, or like some of our viewers?
That's a perfect question. She said, how do I just begin to write? Yes. All right. So I'm going to tell you the 3 biggest mistakes that I see when I look at people's copy. The first thing that I notice when I look at copy is they're not doing anything to grab my attention. All right. They're not doing anything that grabs my attention. So the first thing I tell people when they're writing their copy is figure out how to grab someone's attention. Right? If I'm trying to motivate somebody, I want them to be inspired and motivated. I might use a quote. from an influencer, right? Today is Martin Luther King Day. And so today is a prime opportunity to use some of his amazing quotes, right? If I'm trying to inspire people, and because inspiring copy is very important, right? We don't want to always be selling things. Inspiring people helps them know us and trust us and love us, because really people buy from us because they know, like, and trust us, right? And they don't buy from us just because they see us one time. Now, sometimes we have some sales funnels that are amazing, and yes, they can. But even in a funnel, you take them through a process, right? So the first thing is find something that gets their attention. And again, you're going to get the audience attention when you know the audience you're talking to, okay? So use a hook, whether it is a quote, whether it is something funny, whether it is something engaging, use a quote that gets people's attention. The other thing that I see is that oftentimes we overthink our copy. Mm-hmm. Our copy is so fancy. I tell people all the time, you are too fancy. You are too brilliant, right? The reason that you're an expert is because you're brilliant. Yes. But everybody else that is not an expert needs you to talk to them so that they understand, because they want your expertise. So I tell people all the time, stop being so fancy. Just say what you want to say. Hook them and then get straight to the point and say it, right? Take them on a journey. Tell them a story, but get to the point. And a lot of times what I have to do when I write my copy is I have to write it all out. And then I go back and I go, yep, too big of a word. Nope, not going to use that word. Okay, I'm going to take out that word. Oh, let me take that whole sentence out because that was not necessary, right? But just keeping it simple. And the third thing, and people always go, wow, I never realized how much I do that. The third thing is that we do not utilize our white space. Have you ever looked on Facebook and noticed a caption that's like a big block of words? Mm. Big blocks of words, especially on social media, turn people off. If your copy is a big block of paragraph, no one's reading it. Even if it is 30 words. If it is a big block of words, nobody's reading it because it's overwhelming. When you take 2 sentences and then put a space, and then put 3 sentences and then put a space, people go, oh, I can consume that. That's easy. And they're more willing to continue reading your copy as opposed to looking and going, yeah, that was a funny quote, but that is too much content, and moving on, right? So when we take those 3 things, keep it simple, know our audience and hook them, and capitalize on your white space, you will be surprised how much more engagement you get with your copy than you have in the past.
You know, you are absolutely right, because I am guilty of this. I'm guilty of this, and I'm learning now, because I used to have that paragraph. I'm still recovering from it, not all the way 100%, but it makes sense. It's easy on the eyes to read. That one I have found out it's easy on the eyes to read. And then I learned that you don't have to put too much information there, because if you space it out, you'll find out that you only need what you need, and maybe you can save the other information and use it as a second part or 3rd part or 4th part, or however parts you want to use. But that first part, it doesn't have to be a lot of information, because I have purchased a product from a coach that I really appreciate. How, my goodness, it's like 1 minute. Her video is like 1 minute. I'm able to listen to that 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, but never like 45 or 1 hour minutes, right? So it's easy to consume when you have something like that. And the same thing goes with text itself. When you have a text that you can easily read, and I have to tell you, I'm guilty of it, but thanks to you, I'm going to be learning. I'm going to be learning. But anyway, let's say hello to our viewers, see if I have any question. Joanne Thompson said, I agree. Make your content so that it can be easily consumed. Absolutely. It can be easily consumed because especially now that we're in this pandemic, I can't even tell you, like you said earlier, everything is coming to us so fast, and so many. Sometimes you feel like, it's too much, right? So in order to grab their attention, like you said, it has to be use less technical language so that they can understand you. Use your space, and keep it simple. Keep it simple. And yes, thank you so much. So before we wrap up here, and I'm gonna come back to the viewers and see if the viewers has any question. Where do we go? I'm new. I am so new to copywriting, but I'm tired. I don't want to be, I love sussing it out, but I want to be able to write it on my own so that I can really use my voice. I know I can hire somebody like you, but at the same time, I don't know whether I should suss it out, hire somebody like you, or begin to try to learn on my own. So sometimes maybe you're not available. What would you say?
Well, I have two products that you would love, okay? So the first product that I have, obviously, is you can hire me and I'll write you some amazing copy. And that is amazing, yes. But I also have Becoming a Wordsmith, and that is a Wordsmith 2.0 course that I teach for adult learners who are already amazing in their business. And the reason that this course is the reason this program is amazing is because it's quick, it's short, it's to the point. It's 4 sessions. I go over everything kind of in a condensed way that allows you to understand what to do, how to start, how to move. And so that course is great for someone who may want to go to Fiverr and get a template and then come and make it their own, or might want to just take what they already know and make sure that, identify those areas where they might need some clarification and grow that way. And then I just am getting ready to launch. I'm so excited about this. I am getting ready to launch a program that is going to allow me to take business owners and truly take them through the journey and process of revitalizing their copy, whether it is their vision, their mission, whether it is their website, whether it is their social media content, their LinkedIn bios, their Clubhouse bios, right? Getting, if they have Clubhouse yet, being able to help them understand that process. And the beautiful thing about this program is it's going to have embedded in it work sessions. So not only am I just providing the information, I am getting to know your business. We are getting to know each other intimately so that when I look at your content and I help you revise it, I can get your voice. I can help you identify your customers. I can get to know your customers and what they say. We can do it together. And then you can actually walk away with finished, great, amazing copy and know how to do it yourself. So those are the two things that I have coming out. I'm actually taking applicants right now for that program because the program that I was telling you about, I'm only taking a certain number of students because we are going so deep into the core of their business. And the other course, my Wordsmith course, it will begin to run again in March, and it will be open to everybody that wants to take it. But of course, I am indeed taking getting people on the waiting list. And if you go to my website, territeaches.com, if you go to my website, it's going to bring you to a page that's going to give you a free gift of 5 of the easiest things to fix about your copy. 5 mistakes you're making and the easiest way to fix them. And so once you go and get that, you will also be able to now have access to all of my emails that will keep you updated about all the courses and all of the things that I'm going to be doing. And then, of course, if you want to email me directly, you absolutely can do that. If you are interested in applying for my beta program, you can do that. It is territeaches100@gmail.com, and you can email me there, and we can talk and see if you want to join the program.
Terri, do me a favor. Can you put your link in that comment section? I'm not sure. I don't know whether it would allow you. If it would allow you, can you put your link in that comment section, both your email as well as your link for your class? And see if would it allow you to do so, because that would really be great. I think it's an awesome offer that you have and awesome class for a lot of us that, if you were like me, rather than going to Fiverr, learning how to do it and still hire her because, hey, she's good at what she does, and still hire her. But when she's not around, at least you've learned how to do a copy yourself, right?
Well, the beautiful thing is when you know how to do it yourself. I tell people all the time, you should know how to do every single part of your business, right? You should at least be abreast of it. But there are parts of my business I do not like.
Yep.
I know them, but I don't like them. And the reason I know I don't like them is because I know them. So those are the things that I hire out. But when I hire them out, I'm able to provide feedback and say, no, that's not correct, because I know it. And so the beautiful thing about taking a class is being able to know what you don't know, so that when you decide, I am not going to do writing. I have a friend all the time, one of my clients, she always sends me her product descriptions. She knows how to write her product descriptions. She was amazing in business. She is amazing in business. She's been doing all of her product descriptions before. But now when she hires me, she knows whether or not to give it feedback, to change it, to tweak it, because she already knows how to do it. She just knows she doesn't like to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think this is an amazing offer that you have, allowing business owners and anybody else that, it's not just business owners, anybody else that writes a copy, that wants to have a good copy, not only having just a copy, but knowing what goes into writing a copy. I think is really important. Just as in speaking, what differentiates one person from another person. So it's basically the same thing. Knowing how to write a copy. You don't have to write it, but know what goes into writing a good copy. You can then give it back to her and say, hey, I like it, thank you, but I don't want to do it myself. I'd rather have you do it, right? And she will do an amazing, excellent job for you. So absolutely. Audience, and let me see if we have another comments here. Oh, okay, so you were able to put your information. Everybody, please go over to her site, and it's closing out. I believe her class is starting this week or next week. I'm not quite sure. You'll find all that information when you get there. But if you need this information, be sure to go back and get that information before she takes it away. Just be sure to get that information before she takes it away. And also, before we close out, I want to remind everybody about my masterclass, free masterclass, I should say, about storytelling for speakers, how to create a story that pays and slays, helping you leverage your message using storytelling the right way. That class in January 21st, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, January 21st, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I would love for you to be there. If you know anyone who needs to speak regarding their product and services, please be sure to send that person the information. I forgot to put the link, but I will be putting the link as soon as this is over, because this doesn't allow me to put the link. I'll go ahead and put the link. So come back and get the link. Please be sure to share that link to other people in your tribe, people you know that need that information. And I would love to see you. And I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, Terri. Happy to everybody. Happy Dr. Martin Luther King's Day. And I can't wait to do it again. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you again. Good luck in your journey and in your new class. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.